Do you think you could have made this film, you could have exec produced this film if you were still in India?
Yes, but I don't think they would have taken my calls.
Why would you kick him?
I was getting paid roughly 100 rupees a day.
Why would you hit him like that?
You're my driver.
It was the first time in my career I was on a set and everybody was brown.
Hi, Natalie Barrass here from AsianCultureVulture.com, and I'm joined in cyberspace by the very fabulous Priyanka Chopra Jonas and Adarsh Gourav. Welcome. This is so cool.
Thank you so much. It would have been better in person, but thank you so much for being here.
No, you're most welcome. It's a very warm, mild Bombay evening here, actually. So let's get down to it. We've only got 4 minutes, so we all need to speak really quickly. Adarsh, I'm going to start with you.
The white tiger.
That's what I call myself these days.
You play Balram, and I've got to say, you threw yourself into the character. Can you tell the viewers about the jobs that you did, the places that you went, and the people that you got to meet in order to channel Balram?
Yeah, I had the luxury of time to prepare for the film and understand the character I was playing. So I went to a village in the eastern part of India and stayed there for a couple of weeks just to gain some perspective and to understand how life in the village would be. And after that, I went to Delhi and I worked at a small food stall where I was cleaning plates and keeping the place tidy, doing small errands for the guy. So I was getting paid roughly 100 rupees a day. I worked for 12 hours a day for a couple of weeks, and it was incredible. It was eye-opening for me and really helped me gain an insight into the world of Balram.
Since I was a boy, the desire to be a servant had been hammered into my skull.
And was this at the request of your director? Because I know he likes to do things a little bit differently.
He does, but in both these cases, it was my decision to do both of them. In fact, I remember telling Ramin only after the second day when I started working at the food cart, and he was pleasantly surprised and happy that I was doing it.
When I first saw him.
Hi, how are you doing?
I say you are the director, but you have more of a connection to this story than just the film. You know it from its book days. I'd like you to tell me a little bit about your friendship with the author.
Yeah, sure. Arvind Adiga and I are very close friends for almost 25 years now. We came to meet each other at Columbia University when we were undergraduates there in the mid to late 90s. There was a gang of us, Iranian, Indians, Lebanese, Syrians, Afghans that hung out. And Arvind and I were the two that wanted to be artists. We dreamed of it anyway. And he wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a filmmaker. And so he's been reading my screenplays and talking to me about my film ideas since then. And sometimes he shares his manuscripts and talks about ideas with me. And so I had been reading rough drafts of The White Tiger for almost 4 years before it was published, and just was immediately blown away by it. The character of Balram Halwai is so unique and so complex and funny and sarcastic, and you just kind of wanted to film it right away.
Balram, have you ever seen a computer?
We had many of them in the village with the goats.
The goats are pretty advanced to use computer.
Okay, now you're being a jerk.
Did you think you would be directing it? Was that at the back of your mind when you were suggesting a few changes maybe in the book?
Well, it'd always been in my mind to make it. It just took a long time. It took 15 years to get there. It was maybe 4 or 5 years ago that Arvind called me and said, what about making The White Tiger? And I said, man, maybe now is a chance we could try to get it done. Things are changing. Because it needed money, because it was a huge story. It's a big, epic tale.
I want to be a driver for your son.
Hey, how much rope? Hey, don't do that.
I chased after this movie. I'd read the book 10 years ago. And when I read about it on Twitter that this movie was being made, I called my agents to, offer my services. And then I met Ramin a couple of times. I auditioned for it a couple of times. And, when you go after what you want, sometimes you get it.
They had plans. I had plans too.
To break free from your lies, you're so self-satisfied, I don't need.
I think with Netflix there, wanting to make global stories, wanting to tell films that don't just star white people, they were ready to do it. They were ready to do it on the scale I needed to make the film, and we got lucky with that.
Hey, driver!
I'm Pinky, nice to meet you.
Priyanka, we'll talk about your sort of dual role, not necessarily on screen, but behind screen and on camera in a moment, in probably 2 minutes' time. But what was it like for you working with Ramin?
Well, I was actively looking for an immersive part. My career in India, I've had the good fortune of playing varied roles in different genres. But I've just started working in the US, and my career is still nascent here. So I was really looking at sort of pushing the envelope and starting to get into dramatic parts and starting to like actively choose movies that would give me that opportunity. So I was very excited to work with Ramin because as soon as I met him, I knew this was going to be an immersive experience.
How does a director of Iranian descent growing up in the US make India seem so real in all its big glory?
Well, I hope it does feel that way. One, the book is a great guide. If you just follow the book, it'll lead you in the right direction. Arvind and I had a lot of talks before I went to India. He suggested that I travel a lot by bus and by foot to a lot of the locations, not by a chauffeured, air-conditioned car, to try to get it the way Balram lived it. My parents are from Iran. I grew up speaking Persian before I spoke English. My dad comes from a village just like Balram's. When my dad saw the film, he kept shouting, "Oh my God, that's my childhood. That was me." So I had heard those stories my whole life. I had lived in Iran for 3 years as an adult, including spending a lot of time in Borazjun and Dalaki, the villages my dad had come from. And I think those experiences really helped me feel at home in India. It was the first time in my career I was on a set and everybody was brown like me, which made me feel good. And my crew was 99% Indian. I brought very few people with me, a cinematographer and a production designer. But the team, the costumes, the lighting, the casting, everybody on the set was Indian. And you could always lean on them to help you make sure it was right.
I think you did a brilliant job. I'm actually based in Mumbai, so the highs and lows. It's very real. I read the book, fan of the book, watched the film, thought the film was fantastic, brilliant on both of your parts. I think you really brought both the characters to life as I'd imagined them. I think it's going to ruffle a few feathers. I think it's going to cause some controversy. For you, Priyanka, do you think you could have made this film? You could have exec produced this film if you were still in India?
Yes, but I don't think they would have taken my calls yet when I tried to offer my services. But I'm sure I could have. This book came out, when the book came out in 2008, it was a huge success. It was a Man Booker Prize. It was a New York Times bestseller, and it was a point of contention and chatter in India and outside of it. And that's the point of the movie. We as filmmakers, I can say as an actor, I don't really usually have a choice in, how much I can say. I'm sort of within the periphery of my character. But as a producer, the one thing I can do is, attach myself with stories that create self-reflection. And that's the only, I'm not a head of state. I can't change the world, but I can use entertainment to be able to create and provoke conversation. And I think it's an important conversation to have.
Since I was a boy, the desire to be a servant had been hammered into my skull.
Balram, to you, is he a hero?
It's a very complex question. He's certainly the hero of this story, and I hope audiences get pulled into his journey. He does, we don't want to give the spoiler away, but he does commit a crime. Not just a legal crime, but potentially a moral crime. That's hard to say. I don't like to judge my characters.
I want to break free.
I remember turning to two great novels that I knew had impacted Arvind and reading them again while writing the script, which are two great Black authors, Black American authors, Richard Wright and Ralph Ellison, Native Son and Invisible Man, and trying to remember those great works of art while making the film.
Our time is up. Thank you for joining me in cyberspace.
Thank you.
I wish you
Thank you,
a very
Natalie.
lovely rest of the day.
Thank you so much, Natalie.
Thank you. Enjoy Mumbai there. I miss that place.
I'm just one who has woken up while the rest of you are still sleeping.